Hey, this is the national treasure, Nick Aldis, and you're listening to the All Night Long Wrestling Podcast.
Welcome back to another edition of the All Night Long Wrestling Podcast. We are your host. He's the Stallion. I'm the Enforcer. And this week we are joined by who I can now call our teammate as of last week, Ring of Honor's Will Ferrara. Will, thanks for joining the show, man. We appreciate it.
Hey, thank you guys for having me.
Of course.
We had to put up a hell of a fight in that ROH trivia.
You know, I don't want to say there were some ringers or some cheating, but at the end of the day, for everybody that, if you guys haven't been checking it out, Ring of Honor does trivia every so often. It is such a blast. It's through Zoom, and some of the questions are literally impossible. So like Joe on the other end of this podcast, I call him WrestlePedia because I'll be like, dude, what was the dark match from SummerSlam 92? And then boom. And for the people in the Ring of Honor chat to know half of the answers, like you had to have either somebody next to you with an iPhone or some sort of cheating. I mean, and you and the team was me, you, Joe, and Jay Lethal, and we had some good. I think we got like 56 out of a possible 74 points.
Yeah, something like that. I thought we did pretty well. They had some stumpers. I definitely wouldn't have done as well on my own, so I appreciate the assistance. That's what a good team is made up of.
Teamwork, right? What is it saying? Together, everyone achieves more, and that's what's little positivity here from the show this week. But yeah. Well, listen, man. I know times are weird right now, and you hanging out with us is super cool. I want to. Real quick, I was watching the Ring of Honor New Japan G1 Supercard show, which Ring of Honor uploaded on their YouTube for free, which is cool. I was Joe and I were there, and you came out in the Honor Rumble, and I didn't know this. You were trained by Taz. Is that true?
Oh, yes. It wasn't from scratch, but I attended the Team Taz dojo. He brought it back around, I think, 2010, 2011, and it was a very kind of like closed group where there was maybe like 6 of us at first. We'd meet one day a week for like X amount of weeks, and it was like kind of installments like that. And yeah, it was awesome. He had a banner on the wall that just said intensity, and that was like a focus. And man, it kind of just drilled into my head. The ring was like orange canvas, black ropes. It was pretty cool, and like it was probably the experience at the time that kind of helped get me looking at the wrestling world the right way as like a business, and also like just learning so much that I had no idea, because Taz has been around the world. He's awesome.
Dude, Taz growing up was he was my top 5 dead or alive favorite wrestlers, and were you an ECW fan growing up?
See, I missed the majority of ECW. I didn't get into wrestling till like 2000. My parents didn't let me. And I watched a lot of it in retrospect. So a lot of my ECW stuff comes from like, DVDs and things like that.
Yeah, because it was at 2 a.m. See, my dogs are huge ECW fans, as you can tell. Yeah. They're going crazy right now for a Taz reference. Taz, I mean, he was such an intimidating dude. He had more of like, it was called like a finishing school, right? Where it was kind of, you weren't teaching, from the ground up. You were kind of the business and just refining almost.
Yeah, it was like we had to apply. You send in like a match and a promo, and then like they sift through. You come down to interview, and it was like, it was a finishing camp. It was intended for people that were needing that next level stuff where they know their basics, but in order to reach like the next stage, they just need this like intricate kind of data that like if you were new, it would be way overload to your head. So it was pretty cool, like that perfect intermediate / like expert advice, Well, right, expert advice to intermediate level wrestling.
Sure, to people who had the basics down and they were, like you said, looking to take that next step. That's awesome. And Taz is, I remember back in the day when he would have like the vignettes at the Team Taz school, and he cut a promo that is instilled in my head. He was talking about Chris Candido, and they cut the promo much like what they're doing with Timothy Thatcher right now, how they're doing like the Thatch point, and they had it at the Taz dojo, and he had guys lined up, and he was just dumping them on their head. And he was like, "You want to make me mad, Candido?" And like the intensity that I saw from that dude, I was like, "Whoa!" I'm like, that is like literally like in your house. I'm like, he is so cool, and to be able to learn from him, he's got such a great mind for the business. I think a lot of people kind of know him more as a commentator, but they go back to appreciate his in-ring stuff. It was at that time, it was so different than what anybody was doing, and now a lot of people are doing it. So he's that was kind of before his time, I would think.
Yeah, like that was the first kind of finishing school I've heard of, and especially at the time. And it was just lucky to have found it and to have been accepted. So like my career changed a lot. And I went to Taz, and the Garden, actually, the gear I wore there was a tribute to him. The time I wore it was black and orange, and I tried to do that because, Taz had his moments in the Garden as well, and just New York guy. It was just a tribute because I know I wouldn't have made it there without him. And it actually had half Taz, half Delirious design, because that was my other trainer from once I went to the ROH dojo. So the little design in the front, I know it's very small, but it was just in the gesture because I felt like that Garden moment, those two have probably had the most impact in my wrestling career to get me there. It was great.
Yeah, sure. I mean, Taz's debut at the Garden when he took on Kurt Angle, that's like the all-time debut.
Yeah.
The pop he got and the response he got. So that's cool. That's a nice footnote. I mean, you've been in Ring of Honor, and you're a staple of Ring of Honor. You've been training or wrestling, 14 years?
Yeah, I started training around April 2006. So I was still in high school at the time. I was lucky. I lucked out. Johnny Rods had the school at Gleason's Gym in Brooklyn, and he met with me and my mom and kind of just said, "Hey, well, you signed the waiver. We could have him sign up now, and it's fine." And I just kind of got thrust in there.
At Johnny Rods, I believe he's a WWE Hall of Famer, right?
Oh yeah, Hall of Famer.
He has trained just the who's who in the Northeast. He's the kind of guy, Taz, Tommy Dreamer, I believe, the Dudleys went through his school. I mean, he has that old school mentality, I'm assuming, right? He's that drill it into your head kind of.
He wasn't so much in the ring himself at the time, but
Sure.
learning from him, I got to learn these little tricks that really aren't taught nowadays, like things like side bumps and certain rolls that were. People might look at it and they say outdated, but there's a lot of things you could take and just renew and apply it. And it was just repetition. I didn't really learn psychology too much and things like that there, but I was just repping it out. So when it became muscle memory for doing a lot of stuff, which helped. So I didn't have to think about it. But it was a great start. So I'm glad.
He's a start to a lot of guys' careers, and I'm glad he got his due in the WWE Hall of Fame. Now, when did you start wrestling full-time?
Full-time, it was during a Ring of Honor. For a while, I was doing the Ring of Honor tryout camps, and I was kind of doing these side jobs as I can. I was doing ring crew. I was doing everything I can.
Sure.
But then the first time, my first contract with Ring of Honor was for 2016. And then once I had that, I was like, all right, I could focus on making wrestling my main thing, and that's what I did. And I'm glad that I got the opportunity to do that, because that was the goal for so long, was just, all right, I'm wrestling, it's cool, but I'm almost having to work to support my wrestling habit.
Yeah, so from 2006 to 2016, you were working as many dates as you could, hustling all the other jobs just to get that contract. You started out, I believe the name was Spartan. That was the first, right? That was legit?
That is legit. The old Spartan. I was so young when I started wrestling, so when they're like, "Hey, pick a name," I was just like, Spartan. I like Halo.
That's a lot of pressure, at that age. It's pick a name that you want to have for the rest of your life. You're like, all right, this looks cool, right? That's it.
Yeah, and of course, I might have done a front thrust kick because of the movie, but there's nothing really Spartan about me. So it was just, I guess it was just a nice little mask I could put on, not literally, but so I didn't have to use my real name, which eventually just came out. And now people don't like the gimmick. It's hard to separate from the person, but it's all cool.
So you were wrestling for, you had, like you said, you had a couple of tryouts with Ring of Honor. I know you said Taz helped you. Was there a connection that you had with Ring of Honor, or was it just kind of knowing people from, the independents in New York and New Jersey and Philly?
Well, it was actually just applied. I noticed on the Ring of Honor website, they had the tryout. They listed the tryouts. This is when the dojo was back in Bristol. And it was a 2-day tryout camp. They had coaches from the roster, and you sent in your application, same kind of thing. So I did that. I think it was 2012 was the first one I did. And I thought I was really good going into it. But then I remember afterwards, I was like, wow, I am not. There was a lot I needed to learn. It was a
got a lot to learn,
eye-opening experience. But at the same token, I learned so much within those 2 days that I was like, I just need to be around here as much as possible, because that's how I'm going to get better. So I just made it go out. I think there was a couple months between the first tryout and the second tryout I did. And then after the second, I was just like, hey, is there any way I could train with you guys at the dojo because this is great. And then they let me do it. I remember Grizzly Redwood was actually assistant trainer at the dojo at the time.
Yeah.
And he was like, all right, yeah, you want? Just come by. And I did, and kind of gave me the foot in the door I needed.
That's awesome. So, I mean, since your Ring of Honor tenure, you've pretty much become synonymous with Cheeseburger. You guys are two, like just fun-loving. The crowd loves you guys. You tag teamed up for a while. Was he a guy that you knew beforehand at Ring of Honor, or you kind of just kind of melded as you progressed?
I kind of met him through Ring of Honor. The first tryout, I met him. He was doing his previous gimmick, which he's talked about publicly now, as Leech Londa. It had this like mask, and he was kind of like, it was very different from what he had now. So I remember my first impression of him. I was like, whoa, who's this guy? Like his gimmick kind of caught me off guard, and he was so skinny at the time. So like, I didn't think like, I'm like, oh, what is this? But once I got to know him, I'm like, wow, he's like great, and his work ethic is there. Like I bonded with Cheeseburger a lot training at the dojo. I lived in New York. I would drive to PA and train a few times a week. He was there every time I was there, and then we just became so close because he was probably the person I saw there every day. There was not a day I was at the dojo that I didn't see Cheeseburger there.
Where were you living in New York? Queens, in New York City?
Yeah, I was born in Queens. In Queens for all. It was weird. I lived on the same street my whole life, twice in two places each. So like moved back and forth. It was odd.
And if you're not from the Northeast and you're like, oh, New York is pretty close to Pennsylvania, you've never driven in New York. So making that commute it could be the worst 3 to 4 hours of your life doing that, right? And to do that, how many times a week? That is a dedication that few have. But to your point, you learned so much there in such a short amount of time. You were like, all right, this is where I want to be. This is where I'm going to get better. So you've become a coach at the Ring of Honor dojo as well, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's oh man, I miss it now because we've been closed.
Well, I don't even want to talk about the last 6 months, which everybody's going to delete from their memory, as terrible as it is. But I mean, to be, your in-ring career, but then for Ring of Honor to be like, it's a lot of responsibility and definitely an appreciation for who you are as a person and your character and your work ethic, I would think.
Oh yeah, and that really means the world to me. Like it feels like I've come full circle in that regard, and a lot of it comes from the positive environment that the dojo gave to me, because it wasn't that. Not only like the knowledge about wrestling, but the knowledge about how to just get through the world of wrestling and make the most and like enjoy it and like be positive to each other. And it doesn't have to be this cutthroat business that people make it out to be. Like it could be, hey, if your friend is successful, cool for them, and you'll get your time too. Just like, let's keep all working hard and working together, because if you got to knock each other down, I really don't think it does any favors for anyone. So,
no, if everybody keeps chopping each other down, there's there's nothing to stand on at that point, right?
Yeah, and like a lot of it, I just want to kind of pass that forward to the new generation of wrestlers, or to people who might not have had that environment themselves. Because I know from different places that I've been and worked with before Ring of Honor, there's a whole different range of how a locker room and how like an environment can be. And if people don't know any better and just kind of enter the world of wrestling and think this is how it is because this is the first place they go to, it really could ruin it for them. So I think I just want to provide that environment for other people to like Ring of Honor provided for me, because I certainly wouldn't have made it through and came full circle if that environment was not the positive environment that it was.
And there's so much to talk about, like locker rooms and everything that's been going on this year. There's been a lot of controversy. Ring of Honor really seems like they've consistently had a very positive locker room, and I think that's a tribute to the veterans in there. But it's also like Ring of Honor has a kind of small knit family feel, right? Where it's kind of like ECW, where it's like us against everybody, but not in a negative way. It's like we have to bond together, and everybody on our show has to we have to make each other better. And we had Quinn McKay on the show a while ago, and she said the atmosphere in the locker room Ring of Honor is just such a positive, everybody's really pulling for each other. And you don't see that a lot in pro wrestling, these days. And I feel like there's in other organizations, there's a lot of jealousy, and there's a lot of, backbiting, and there's a lot of people giving, dirt sheet writers thing and all that kind of stuff. And Ring of Honor, you don't really hear that a lot. So that's so cool. And I think that's why the fans are so, so passionate about the product is because it's such a different feel. Like when you go to a Ring of Honor show, you guys, the wrestlers, you guys are walking around, talking to people in between intermission and stuff like that, and you don't see that anywhere else. That's why I think it's so, the people bond so tightly to the company.
Oh, I agree. And I think when we say that Ring of Honor, we say we have the best wrestling on the planet, and we want to prove that. It's not just a statement that we say and then, believe it because we say it. No, I think every time they get into the ring, every time one of us gets to the ring, we want to prove that, and we want to show it just in case if anyone hasn't seen us for the first, and this is the first time, then that's what they would believe when they watch. And it's cool. Yeah, and the passion, it's passion and honor, man. Together, it's awesome.
It really is. And the fans, I mean, when I say it's like ECW, I mean, you have Streamer Guy in the front row, and Streamer Guy is like Straw Hat Guy and Howard Stern Guy wearing ECW. Like, the fans in the front row. That's that kind of
fans with their gimmicks of themselves, depending on where you go. And it's cool. Like, it just shows that
Ultra Liger, the fan that always wears the Liger hat.
Yeah, in Baltimore.
Yep. Now, you've been wrestling for a while. You're still a really young dude. I don't know what, you have a very full bump card, as the wrestlers say, but I don't know what the secret is, because you look so young, but you've been doing this for a long time. You've been in the ring with everybody. What a lot of people don't know, you tagged with now the artist known as Evil, the IWGP TV champion and IWGP heavyweight champion, as I'm going to butcher the name. What was it? Watanabe, right?
That is correct.
Yeah, Watanabe, I think, at a couple shows in the Northeast. I mean, he was on excursion when he came to Ring of Honor, right? That was his deal?
Yeah. From when I've encountered him, at least the first few times I met him, he was I guess his excursion was in the States. So he would train at all these different schools. He would train at MMA places. I think he was staying with Sumi at the time. And he would come to all the shows, and just kind of we were both at that same level at the time. I was like, all right, here's these kind of new guys, not new guys, but they need to get their feet wet. They need the reps more than anything. So we were kind of placed together as a team, but it was really fun. It was he was learning English. It was an experience for me to communicate, because I didn't really have experience wrestling with people who weren't fluent in English up until that point. And just I'm proud of him and all the progress he made. Just to think of what he was at first, and then when he came back to New Japan, debuted as Evil, and he's just taken the world by storm. He's been killing it. It's awesome to see.
Yeah, he won a TV at Field of Honor. He won I think a gauntlet match I was watching. And I was like, oh man, okay. And if you look at who he was then and Evil now, you're like, holy, that's the same dude. I think it's so cool that the excursion thing is what I think a lot of people don't understand. So could you just give us a little bit what the excursion is in New Japan and how they, because Ring of Honor is a source of a lot of guys. Shingo was in Ring of Honor 15 or 16 years ago. A lot of people don't know that. So Ring of Honor seems to be like a vessel for the excursion for New Japan Wrestling.
From my experience, since when I've been in Ring of Honor through the career, they brought in guys like Jay White, Roppongi 3K. They were the Tempura Boys at the time, Watanabe. And from my understanding, they were training at the Young Lions dojo in New Japan. And after they were doing shows already as the Young Lions, and then they reach a certain point where it's all right, go and wrestle somewhere, sometimes CMLL or America or England. There's different hubs where it's their excursion. So when they're with us at Ring of Honor, they're essentially we're using them, and we're giving them shots to wrestle the Ring of Honor stars. So it was cool to kind of cross paths with guys like that. I wrestled Jay White. I think it might have been his first match or second match on the excursion. Watanabe as a team, and me and Rhett wrestled Roppongi 3K at the time. So it's really cool to see people at this stage of their career. And then once they returned to New Japan after this excursion, they had this new gimmick, this new identity. Jay White debuted Switchblade. Tempura Boys became Roppongi 3K, and Watanabe became Evil. So it's almost look at it as a graduation. You go get work done on your own. We're not going to help you. You're going to kind of put you out there in the wrestling world, see how you do, learn on your own.
Sink or swim,
then,
right?
Sink or swim.
You're going to be in the ring with people that are way more experienced than you are, and they don't speak the same language as you. So if you could do this, you could do anything. And I'm glad you mentioned Rhett Titus. Who was more fun to have as a tag team partner, Cheeseburger or Rhett Titus?
Ooh. Well, if you're going to use the word fun, I'm going to say Cheeseburger, because Rhett, the way he liked to have fun was by pressing my buttons and getting reactions.
Oh, okay.
And no, guys, it's not Big Willie, it's Little Willie. So if the word fun is thrown out there, I say burger. But
Okay, how about entertaining? Is that different?
Entertaining, yeah. And I guess was also the perspective on who's being entertained. But enjoyable. Yeah, I think it's so very different, like kind of teams. When me and Burger were a team, it was almost just like we were two equals. We were going stuff with Rhett and I. We had this dynamic of like almost like a big brother, little brother. They don't get along, but they're
frenemies, right? Like a friendly rival. Yeah.
So it was different. They're two very different, but like they're two of my best friends in wrestling. So just to have teamed with them in Ring of Honor and to have all these matches against these like world caliber athletes is really cool. As even on a personal level, to be able to share that with like my friends.
Yeah, the Red stuff was so funny and it was so entertaining. The dynamic. Anybody that's ever been like not picked on, but like you said, like get under your skin and stuff like that to watch it. You're like, I know exactly what he's feeling, and you just get so mad, So that was cool. And we had Ring of Honor. We talked a little bit about. I mean, Ring of Honor is a company, and you're very closely associated with it, of course. Everybody's like, when they lose the quote-unquote top stars, like, oh, is this it for Ring of Honor? No, because Ring of Honor is always able to elevate the next level of stars. When Punk left and Samoa Joe left and Bryan Danielson and Nigel, it was like, oh, that's it. Oh, really? Because now we have, and how do you think Ring of Honor, how do they do it? How do they get, like, you had Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly as Future Shock. And then once, I guess the crop left before him, it was like, okay, now it's time to bring Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly to that next level. How are they so good at cultivating talent and really finding wrestlers that respond so well to the fans?
See, I think a lot of it has to do with just setting up the wrestler with an opportunity to showcase themselves. Like I think of a big moment in Adam Cole. I think it was a match against Kyle O'Reilly, and that match where he got busted open.
Oh. Yeah, his face.
It was like it's a little detail, but the way he took it and ran with it, turned it, and that match was awesome. And like I think you see performances like that, and the fans know it's real. Like when we say honor is real, like you can't. There's nothing predetermined. That's like as real as it gets. And I think
something happened, and like you said, we rolling with it, and we're gonna make it even better.
Yeah. So it's not even so much I think as a Ring of Honor saying, hey, we want this guy to be the next, but right. it's a combination of putting them in a situation where the fans go, oh, and then Ring of Honor noticing is like, okay. Let's see the next step up, because I feel Ring of Honor's cultivating talent is very organic in the way someone moves up a card. If someone, like, it doesn't feel forced. It doesn't feel like they're being forced down your throat in any way. It's very much the bell to bell is the important part. And when that succeeds and when that gets like some traction, it just gets better and better. A little more minutes added, more opportunities added. So I think. Sorry,
go ahead.
No, you do. Oh, I was just going to say a good example. I think Shane Taylor this past year, I think he was a great talent as far as like he was given the opportunities and he like did really well. He hit home runs. He had a match with Jeff Cobb in Philadelphia, and that was like, all right, boom. Now it's on pay-per-view in Vegas. And his TV title run was personally one of my favorite things of Ring of Honor last year. So like
he is. I'm glad you said that because Shane Taylor, not to keep putting our podcast over, but he was on the show like 4 years ago, right after Keith Lee left and the Pretty Boy Killers, which I still think is the best tag team name ever. Right after they kind of disbanded, he was in the show and he was telling us all the things, he was dropping weight and he told us like a story about his life. And it took like a year and a half or so, but then you saw that come full circle on TV and he got the time and he had a hell of a run with the TV title. And another guy I think about is Dalton Castle. The way the fans responded. Dalton Castle on paper, you're like, oh, that seems interesting. The way the fans responded to him was like unlike anything I've ever heard before. You have two boys that like you use as like a throne, and fans are going bananas, and that's the thing. Ring of Honor was like, all right, this is great, and here you go. So they're really just. It's so interesting you say that. You earn the minutes. It's a company where you earn it, and if you could be at the next level and you could stay there. Then good for you. And I know this with, the last year and a half or so, or maybe 2 years of Ring of Honor, there was a state of influx. Like, the TV show, they were doing like the TV show was almost a couple of weeks behind and it was tough to follow. But then the TV show went to Honor Club and it was a lot easier because you were getting things consistently. And then just as I feel like Ring of Honor was really clicking on all cylinders, we had whatever the hell we're currently dealing with right now. But I think 2020 started off as, and even like the last half of 2019 was probably the best Ring of Honor has been, product wise and everything in a lot of years. So I really hope. I mean, have you heard anything actually? Have you about shows coming back? Are you guys doing shows?
Yeah, like from my knowledge, right now there's nothing set. There's nothing set like as far as taping or as far as shows in front of crowds. A lot of it is taking it day by day, like they say. So I think there's a lot of our talent that are coming from all around the world. There's different states have different laws, so I think there's just a lot of kind of factors, and because the most importantly, they want us all to be safe, and they don't want to rush into things for our safety, for the fans' safety. They're definitely coming back. It's just a matter of when it's the best time to. And I agree with what you're saying. I think there's a lot of members on the roster that maybe debuted in the beginning of 2019, found their footing, and they were doing they've just gotten better and better, and we're really starting to click. And then we had an influx of new talent for 2020 that were ready. They were lined up all right, let's go.
Sweet.
And it just rug out. There were, the people in the Pure tournament, the Women of Honor, the Quest for Gold tournament, they had all these new kind of faces. To me, I agree. But, everything happens for a reason. Some people like to say, I don't know what the reasons this stuff is for.
Glass half full kind of spin on it, and you said, when you look at the Ring of Honor roster, it's like Japan, Australia, New Zealand, UK. So how are you going to get people in? But I will say Ring of Honor is doing a fantastic job social media wise and YouTube content. They're making sure people don't forget about them. And I think that's so important because, you have, how do you feel about wrestling with no fans? Like what they've been doing? What's your take on it? Is that something you can enjoy, or is it just not for you?
I think, personally, of course, I prefer the crowd, but then I also look at it, it's like they're doing what they can. I guess they have these TV deals, they have to put out content, the testing, they're making it safe. And I look at it as if they can't have a crowd, so this is the best thing they could do. And I just appreciate the effort because, I've had matches at dojos and stuff where there's no crowd, and it's so much harder to do that without the energy. So the fact that they're doing it and they're doing it at a high level for TV, I respect it. It's not my cup of tea, but I know there's nothing they can do about it. They're not choosing to take the crowd away. It's just circumstances they're faced with. So if anything, I just applaud their effort. And, I know that it's, we all want to make it through and bring back the wrestling that we all know and love.
Yeah, and I have to imagine everything hurts a hell of a lot more when there's no fans, right? The chops, all the bumps and everything. It's got to be just way more difficult when there's nobody there cheering you on. You hear it, and it's
just that silence. Your own thoughts can echo, and then that's the worst.
It's like after getting chopped by Walter, and it's just silent, and you hear nothing. It's just the pain really echoes.
The soul needs to return to the body.
Oh man, listen, so what can we expect from yourself when this is over and Ring of Honor when this is over? What do you think? And I know everything's kind of weird right now, but as far as the talent in the company, what's Ring of Honor next step? What do you think they're going to do to really stabilize themselves?
That's a good question. And I think a lot of it has to do with the circumstances that present themselves when we are coming back. I think that we have a lot of talent, and everyone has ideas that they want to do, and I think it's going to be good. I think it's going to be almost like a reset button would be the best way to describe it. Yeah. We still have our champions. We have a lot of things that we wanted to do that maybe aren't going to be done the same way, but we still want to deliver on the Pure title. We want to deliver on the Women's World title. So as Ring of Honor, I feel like we're going to come back, and when we do come back, we're going to come back strong because we're going to make up for lost time. All of us on the roster have been really itching to wrestle, and we don't want to just do it to do it. We want to do it and make it mean something. So as far as Ring of Honor, I think it's going to come back strong. And as myself, I'm just doing anything I can to help out, whether it's the dojo, production side. I got my wrestling boots in the closet. They're still ready to go. So whatever they need, I just want to do my best. I'm very happy with Ring of Honor. They've been taking care of me through this quarantine. So it's been a nice peace of mind.
That's amazing. Yeah.
And yeah.
As far as production side, what are you doing on the production side?
A lot of it is guerrilla, kind of similar to what the guerrilla position would be.
Sure.
You wear the headset and just yell and get yelled at. It's really fun. But
It's kind of like being married. I'm just kidding.
It's like a sponge. I try to be like a sponge in wrestling. If there's like an opportunity to do something, if it's not wrestling, I'll still do it because I know my back's going to tap out one day and I won't be able to bump forever. So it'd be cool to still work in wrestling and get experience now so I don't have to learn everything when the CTE kicks in and it'll be a lot harder.
Oh, man, that's terrible. But that's such a, I mean, it's easy to see why Ring of Honor chose you to be part of their dojo because you do have such an awesome outlook on it. And just talking to you, I mean, the attitude is infectious and it's such a positive, it really is such a positive mindset that I think the wrestling world needs. But like you said, when this finally all gets lifted, I can just picture everybody, because Ring of Honor, like you said, they haven't been able to work. So you're watching, you're probably just itching to get back in the ring, and that's cool. What have you been doing to keep yourself busy? Being in New York, we're both New Yorkers. We are, I don't know, the gyms aren't open here. I mean, we're probably not until stage 26 or whatever the mayor says at this point. We are on ultimate lockdown. What have you been doing to keep yourself busy? Yeah,
I'm actually Maryland now, closer to the dojo and stuff. And they opened up gyms recently, maybe the middle of June, and that was like a given, face
recently,
mask
that's like a year ago for me. So you've had gym opens for a month?
Yeah, it's been nice. That was a big, like, at first, I was kind of vacation. This is going to be a few weeks. I'll play some games, I'll hang out, I'll do what I want. But then, like, it just kept adding on, and it was kind of hard because without shows going on in Ring of Honor and without the dojo open, I was just like, wow, my job is gone. There's nothing I could do. I don't know how to be productive. So a lot of it just came on self-reflection, work on yourself. You could always find different ways to work out. You could read, do some research stuff. Like I tried to have a balance of productive stuff along with the screwing around too.
Sure, the R&R, which, like, being a wrestler, you really never, ever get. So this is almost like one of those forced vacations where, like, you know what? Take some time, recoup, get yourself, mentally and physically wherever you have to be. You said you play some games. Are you a gamer?
Oh, yeah. I upgraded to the PS4 Pro recently.
Okay. I just got the Xbox One X, so I'm on the other side of it. Yeah, I'm on the other side of
the old Xbox, or the not the X version, but the one before. It's fun, like I always been a big gamer my whole life. I always loved it. I try to just escape reality sometimes, get into some of those worlds, and it's cool.
What are you playing now?
Right now I'm going through Call of Duty World War II. I know I'm a few years late, but they added it on the PlayStation Plus or whatever they're doing through that.
See, that's what I do. I don't care how late it is. I have the Xbox Game Pass. You're like, I didn't play this one. So yeah, that was a good one. I'm playing Resident Evil 3, the remake right now.
So nice. I heard that was really good. I was going to get through they made the remakes of the first and second as well that I heard were great. So I was going to kind of just go through them.
Did you play them originally?
No, I played them like when I was kind of like terrible at games and like a scared little kid. So I'd play it, run out of ammo, get killed, get mad, and then go play like Spyro the Dragon.
Or like there'd be a jump scare and I'd flip all the lights. I did the same thing.
Oh yeah, it's still scary. Yeah, but like I get overwhelmed with the games. It's like Netflix. You spend 30 minutes looking for something to watch, and then you watch something for 5 minutes and fall asleep. Like I'll be looking, I shouldn't play this. I'll download this and. It's hard, but...
yeah, exactly. I do the same. Sometimes I like not having as many choices. It's like, just tell me what I'm watching or playing, and it makes my life a lot easier.
Oh, I agree.
Well, listen, man, we can't thank you enough for coming on the show today. Where can everybody follow you, what's going on, all the social medias, and catch up with what's going on with you and Ring of Honor?
Oh, yeah. Well, Ring of Honor, it's at Ring of Honor, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all that stuff. You can follow me at Will Ferrara on Twitter. It's reverse at Ferrara Will on Instagram. And if I ever go crazy again, at Will Ferrara on TikTok. I guess the world's doing that. I had a few. I don't know if I'm going to go back in. It's a big wormhole, pretty deep wormhole, TikTok. But
I've never tried the TikTok. We have one buddy in the group chat that always sends TikTok videos, and I click on it. It takes forever to load. I'm like, no, I'm not doing it. I have enough social media. I'm already embarrassed myself enough on probably multiple platforms. I don't need another one TikTok. So
yeah, if anything, I like it because it's one of them you can scroll through, and a lot of it's funny, kind of like mind-numbing stuff where it's not like all this terrible news and things like that where you scroll through other platforms, but.
Yeah, like lighthearted stuff. Exactly. Yeah. Okay. See now that could actually invite me to look at it. I'm so tired of all the negative stuff out there. I just want like a Facebook where it's only like pictures of wrestling and puppy dogs, and that's
Yeah,
it. That's
right?
I just want to
a
just
good
keep a
combo.
positive mental attitude for sure. Well, thank you so much for your time, and we look forward to everything you have coming up and Ring of Honor does. And that's it for another edition of the All Night Long Wrestling Podcast. We are tapping out.
Best friends.